This is Open Door with Vince Robinson. In-depth conversations with people who are making a difference in the lives of others here and around the world. Culture is at the heart of who you are. Know your culture, find yourself on Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Grand Dawn and Great Rising. Welcome to another episode of Open Door with Vince Robinson right here on 95.9 FM WOVU, Cleveland's Urban Alternative. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing an author who lives in Fredericksburg, Virginia. She's currently a Deacon Emeritus at Shiloh Baptist Church and has served on several boards in the city of Fredericksburg, including the Electoral Board. She's also a charter member of the Hope House Board, which functioned as the first homeless shelter in the city. She served in the church's diaconate ministry for more than 40 years. She's also participated in the church's home missions ministry and was an advisor to the Young Women's League. Additionally, for more than 20 years prior to her retirement, she served Shiloh Baptist Church as both secretary and financial secretary. And I will add to this that there is a scholarship in her name, and we'll talk about that as well. Welcome to Open Door with Vince Robinson, Iretha Bumbrey. How are you today, Mrs. Bumbrey?
I'm fine, thank you.
And
how are you?
I'm excellent, and I'm holding this book in my hand. It was sent to me by my aunt, who lives very nearby. I believe she might be in Fredericksburg, actually. And she took the liberty of marking off a few poems that are in this book. There are poems in this book. There are also scriptures that you have quoted, or there's a biblical aspect to this as well. So thank you for writing the book. And I have to tell you that I have enjoyed what I have read based on being a poet myself. I see how you have documented your life and your loved ones through your words, and I think that's a very beautiful thing. Why don't we start by talking about your life in Fredericksburg? You were married to a great man by the name of Charles Bumbrey, and you have 4 children. They had a chance to seek higher education. I'm going to assume that they did go to college and get their degrees, and probably it was thanks to your motivation and that of your husband. Could you confirm that?
Yes, we did send our children to college. One did not complete. He started, but he did not complete. But he has, in spite of all that, he has one of the highest paying jobs of the family members. He's not a sales manager. He's can't say it. I'll tell you in a minute. He works with the fireplace company, where he's manager over the workers that in the company, and he does very well with his job. All of my children are doing well, thanks. Yes, we were able to send them on to college, and they're all doing well. One is a school teacher. She taught here in the city for 25-plus years as a math high school teacher. Now she's in California still teaching math again. And one son works for the federal government, which I can't say the title. But and the other one is a chauffeur, and he drives sometimes celebrities and different other people. So they're doing well so far, and I thank the Lord for that.
Okay. So you live in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Is that where you grew up?
That's where I was born and raised, yes. I've been here all my life, though I've done traveling in other places. I always lived here in Fredericksburg, yes.
Okay.
88 years.
88 years.
88 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And I started writing poetry shortly after I finished high school, graduated from high school here in the city. I did not attend college, though my teachers thought I should go. I graduated as an honors student, but I did not attend college, but I kept writing poetry. The poetry was inspired by the Lord, and I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned part of the reason, but what was your impetus for writing this book?
It's because I've been writing poetry so long. I just wanted to have it published before I leave this earth, and I just thought that the Lord meant for me to publish these words because some of them refer to, a lot of them refer to the Lord, and I just thought that He wanted this to be received by others. I have recited poetry in my church several times and different other places, as a matter of fact, in the city. So I just felt obligated to do this before I leave this earth.
Okay. So while we're on the subject of the book, I would like for folks to know right away how they can get it. What was your process and where can folks find the book?
Pardon, what did you say?
What was your process for writing the book? And before you tell us how people can get the book if they're interested.
My process is I had a person in my church who was an editor, and I had asked him about putting my poetry together putting a book together for me. So he agreed, and I had so many files in my computer, but he took all of them and just put it together in this fashion that you find. Right now, I do not have it online. You can reach me, I guess, to get a copy. I have not placed it online because I'm not sure just yet about that process. But if you'd like to get a copy, you may contact me.
And I can tell folks that it would definitely be worth your while, especially if you do enjoy poetry. So you were writing it as a young person, and there may have been a reason that you decided that writing was for you. Any ideas on why you decided to start writing poetry?
No, not really. What happened when I was growing up, I saw this article as I was a teenager. I saw an article in a magazine that said they would accept your words for a song poem to put to music. They would accept whatever you write, and they would make a music from it. Well, I wrote a poem at that time, and that's in the book, the right one. And when I wrote that and sent it away it was a company called Tin Pan Alley. When I wrote it to them, they sent back and wanted to go further, and they sent music. Actually, they made music to it, though I never had it put on the market or anything, because at that time they wanted more money, which I did not have, so I didn't go any further with it. But they did give me a copyright. I had a copyright to that, and I think I was about 18 years old at that time. I had a copyright to that poem, and I've just had it all these years and never did anything with it. However, at my book signing in November, my granddaughter, who is a music teacher, I asked her to put music to it because we couldn't use the music from the one that we had, of course, because that person was deceased. So anyway, and I couldn't use his copyright. So she put music to it and sang it at my book signing, which was so touching. And that, I think that started me writing, and so I wrote poems after also and took them to my former English teacher. I had written a few poems, and I took them to her and asked her what she thought of them, and she thought they were very good. So from there, I went ahead just writing poems. Whenever something came about or any inspiration came to me, I would write. Sometimes at nights, the Lord would wake me, and I would have to get up and start writing immediately. Or sometimes I was walking somewhere, or whatever, I would have to stop and just write, and I would grab any kind of paper, sometime even a napkin or whatever, if I'm in the kitchen somewhere, and I didn't have anything else. I'd grab anything to write on so that I would not forget my words.
I see. I'm reading one called Happy 90th Birthday, Nubby. Do you have the book with you?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, I think
Okay,
it would probably mean more to folks hearing it from you than from me. But it's on page
okay.
118.
Okay. Actually, she was a cousin of mine. You said what page? Oh, 180. Okay, I'm sorry because I have, there's so many, I don't know which page. Okay. Okay. I have another one I would like to read if you'd like to.
Please
okay.
do.
But this is happy 90th birthday, Nubby. 90 years have come and gone since the day that you were born. You've reached a milestone along the way. You truly deserve a beautiful birthday. May God bless you in all that you do, is my special birthday wish for you. You have been a blessing year after year to so many with your love and care. With a kind-hearted spirit and giving ways, you've blessed so many others all your days.
Mm. And she responded when she saw the poem in what way?
She was very happy. She just called me and was so excited and very, very happy about that.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
I noticed how you have, I guess, amplified others in your family through your poetry. It seems that there is an intentionality about being inclusive when it comes to your words.
Yes. My family means a lot to me, and I do like to, always let them know how much I care about them.
Well, it's kind of ironic. My mother turns 90 on March 26th.
Did she? Wonderful.
She does. So I guess I'm going to have to write her a poem.
Right. That would be wonderful indeed.
Yes. Well, I'm kind of like you. I have been called upon to write poems for different folks in the family in different occasions.
Right.
So when folks transition, sometimes I'm called to ask. I'm called to do poems, and so I've done that. So I'll keep that in mind for Mother Dear.
Yes.
Yes.
I have written them and had to do. They've asked me to read poems at funerals several times, so many times too. Though some of them are the ones I have had to. As one was in particular. It's a long one. I'm not going to read it, but the one for Johnny P. Johnson, and they called me about 3 days before, but I thank the Lord I was able to get that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to shift gears and talk to you about your life in Fredericksburg, and I'm sure that there were folks who came before you, and I'm also kind of curious, based on your age and your history, about what you know about those who came before you. How was it that you and your family ended up in Fredericksburg?
Yes. My family, some of them came from Caroline County, which isn't too far from Fredericksburg. And I do have some of my family genealogy. There were slaves in my family, and my mom lived here all her life. Her name was Ellen Washington, and she married James Richardson, and he was a cab driver here in the city, and he knew a lot of the history around the whole area, not just in Fredericksburg. When he took people around, oftentimes he would tell them about different things in the area, different aspects of the history in the area. Let's see, what else? I grew up, where I grew up, I lived in a white neighborhood, and we played with white children, and we got along fine. At that time, of course, there was segregation, but in so many places we were not allowed to go in. But we knew almost everyone in town. It was a very small town at that time, and everybody knew everybody, black and white. So we seemed to have gotten along pretty well as far as segregation was going, though we couldn't do some of the things or go some of the places, and the theaters were segregated. A lot of things were, but we got along, on the surface. So that was the era I grew up in, and I've seen so many changes over the years. As time has gone, well, so many things have changed. Just not just with integration and all. I was out school. My children went to the integrated school, but of course I did not. And I had no problem. I had one incident with one teacher, but when she hit my child on the head, but I did go to the school about that, and also had one teacher to tell me that, oh, but you keep your child so clean. And I said, well, that's what I'm used to. So anyway, otherwise, we got along okay. Now, when I graduated, I applied for a job at the Woolworth store at that time, and I got the high score on the math test, but the white girl got the job, and that kind of bothered me. But anyway, we kept going, and finally I got the job at the church later after my children were in school, all in school. That's when I went out to work. So my husband was had been in the Korean War, and when he came home, he said, I didn't know him until after he got out of the service. I worked at his aunt's grocery store, and that's how I met him. So when he came out of the service, he was telling us how he got off the train and got on the bus to come to the area where we live, which is called Mayfield. And when he got on the bus, he had paid his 25 cents or whatever it was at that time, and the bus driver told him to go to the back. And he had his duffel bag, and he was so angry after he had served in the Korean War. He got off that bus with his duffel bag and walked about 2 miles to his home. I had I had 3 brothers and one sister. We all were raised together. I was the first one born in our home place, and my home place is on the historic record in the Fredericksburg area. Now I had that place. My son is still in that home, and it's over 100 years old. So let's see, what else do you want to know?
Well, if I could, I'd like to ask you a little bit more about your husband.
Yes.
You met him. He was working he had a relative who had a store, and you met.
He had an aunt who had a grocery store.
Yes. So
yes.
Talk to us about your encounter with him and how your relationship developed.
Okay. Well, when he came into the store and saw me, he started talking to me, and so we just started. Every day he would come into the store and start talking to me. So then one day he said I was going home. He was going to walk me home. He walked me home, and I lived over a mile away. And so we walked a lot in those days. So he walked me home, and from there he kept walking me home. And finally we started dating, going out, and we went every Sunday night. We would go to this place called Robinson's Newsstand and play music on the jukebox, which is something nobody knows about now, I guess. But he would play these records for me, and we would sit there until she closed every Sunday night. Because we didn't have much money, so he would put a quarter here and a quarter there, and we would just sit there. And we didn't eat a lot. We would eat something like pie Alamo or something of that sort, because he didn't have a lot of money back in that day. So after a while, we courted probably 2 years, and a little over 2 years, and he finally proposed, and we got married, and we had bought our furniture and everything before we got married. We had had rented a home from his uncle, and so 4 years later, though, I look back recently. I said 4 years later, we were in our own home, which I'm living now. I'm still living in. He died 14 years ago, but I still have the home place that we bought when we first got married.
Mm. That's interesting. So for 2 years, Brother Man is walking you home, making that mile walk to your house and the mile to wherever he had to go.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and he had a lot of his family. He came from a large family of 16 siblings. There was 16 in his family, but they're all only one is left at this time. But they were all very kind and nice to me. And later he told me that his dad wanted him to marry me. I would have been the best person for him to marry. So, but yes, we got along fine with the family, and everything worked out very well.
Mm-hmm. That's quite impressive too, that you had the vision to make those purchases of furniture and so forth and so on. So when it was time for you to feather your nest, and you had everything that you needed.
Right.
Yes. So what took him so long to ask you?
He was trying to ask me before. I guess I wouldn't listen. I didn't listen a lot to that. I tried to skip that, but it was 21. I was 21 actually when I got married. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. But he was older than me.
How many years?
Just about 8 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, but
well, you mentioned earlier in our conversation how much things have changed, and I think that's another thing that has changed. We don't hear too much about people courting anymore. Can you talk to us about what courting is?
Oh, it's going out together and getting to know one another more and more, and enjoying each other's company. And I think it's more or less that's what I consider it. And we were married for 52 years before he passed. Yes.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yes, and none of my children have made it like that. In fact, my children have all. Well, anyway, they are. My boys have had more than one wife, but they are doing okay though. They're doing very well now with their wives.
Okay. Good to hear that. So you all got married. I'm assuming he was working. What was he doing?
He was working for the civil service. Still, he had a job. We call it Quantico, which is about 30 miles from here, and he would commute every day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's what he had that job until he retired. He retired after 33 years with Quantico with the civil service.
Mm-hmm. And what were you doing during this period?
That was when he was working until I stayed home with my children until the last one got in school. I was a mother for 10 years, actually, for 10 years before I went to work, and that was when I went to. I worked a bit while we were first married because I still worked. I worked at a. After I went to the grocery store. From the grocery store, I went to as a cashier clerk in an insurance company for 4 years. But then after the children started coming, I just stopped working until they all got in school. Then I went out to work at the church as a secretary and financial secretary. Yes. Okay. And on the Electoral Board is a 3-member board, and there were only, I think I was the only black person in Fredericksburg that ever was on the Electoral Board, and not ever, was the first one on the board here in Fredericksburg, Virginia. But I got along with the other two ladies. They were white, and I got along fine with them.
Mm. What did the board members do?
The board members, we are in charge of the entire election in each city, in the city of Fredericksburg. We have to see to the machines being properly ready. We have to see that all the ballots taken care of. We have the state board sends us information that we have to make sure that elections are fair and everything is done properly. We have to hire the workers in the precincts, and we have to be there early each morning of the voting day and stay until every vote is counted. And not only that, to see that each precinct has completed their work that night before. Then the next days we have to go and verify all the information and then send it into the state board. And we also go to conventions and things of that sort. It's also on the state board, Virginia Board of Elections. Mm-hmm. Also.
Yeah, it's ironic that we're having this conversation because I just did an interview with a young lady who was the daughter of Jane B. Sheets. And many people may not know this, but Jane B. Sheets was the first chairman of a board of elections in the entire country. And this was in 1976. She was the chairman of the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. And I think she held that position for like 4 years. But she made history. And her daughter, with whom I had the conversation, has been a poll worker for 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I started out as a poll worker and then became the my pastor was the mayor of the city, and he was the one who suggested that I try become electoral board member, trying to get our black members involved in everything in the city. And he had me to go before the city people in order to become on the board of elections. And so they accepted me, and that's the way it happened. Our pastor was Reverend Lawrence A. Davies, the first black mayor in the city. Mm-hmm.
History is made once again.
Yes, and because he was also the pastor of our church for 50 years. So yes, history over and over.
Yes. So I'm compelled to ask this question simply because I asked the other person, but based on your age, you were present during the quote unquote civil rights movement. You saw the Civil Rights Act 64, 65, Voting Rights Act, and all of that. And you've been involved in elections. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about the level of participation by black people in this country in the electoral process.
I'm glad to see it's improving to me because it's over the years. When I first went on the Electoral Board here in the city, we had 4 precincts, and when I got there and found that you don't know what's going on the other precinct, only one you're in, but when I found out that the other 3 precincts did not have black workers, I came home immediately and started calling. There was only one other precinct that had black. The one that we vote in was near where the black people live, and so they were the ones that you had black workers in. But when I found that there were no other, one other precinct had 2 workers, I started calling all around the town because I knew so many people in different areas, and I got black poll workers on every precinct. That was my aim, and I did that. I was so thankful that I was able to do that. And they stayed on for a number of years, but I noticed now things are backing up a bit. I don't think our people are out there as much, but most of the time while I was there, and I worked on the precinct for 18 years. I was 16 years, I think, 16 years. I was on the Electoral Board, but I worked as a poll worker so many years before that. I don't remember how many, but I was really happy to be able to get our workers in all of the precincts because I think it's unfair. I thought it was unfair that, they were not involved, and so I'm glad they did accept it and went ahead and worked on the precincts, yes.
You are located in Fredericksburg, Virginia, not far from Washington, D.C., and it's like you have a ringside seat to the circus that's happening in Washington, D.C. I'm just wondering what your thoughts or observations are of the political season that we're living in, and compare it to times when Shirley Chisholm was running for president and Jesse Jackson ran for president, and we've had 8 years of President Obama. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about what we're seeing right now.
Oh, I'm so very upset about it, and I can't say everything. I can't tell you all my thoughts, but I'm very, very upset about what's happening. Yes, I'm truly upset. It just bothers me so bad to see the country going in this fashion. Even though, here's what I feel, over the years, there has been white supremacists, Ku Klux Klans, and all this stuff. They have been undercover, but now that the current administration has spoken out and let them all out of the bag, things are just going wild, and I am so upset by it. I remember when integration started, and how it took a while to get it going, but it did level off, and now things are just reversing themselves, and I'm very, very upset. At the time during the 60s, I wasn't able to do much because that was the time I was raising my children. I wasn't able to get out and even see some of the things. I saw what was on TV, but I couldn't get involved as much as I would wished I had been able to. But at any rate, now I am very highly upset about the way the country is going. It's just turned upside down completely, and it's such a shame. And I pray every day, and I do believe God is going to make it. Going to reverse this too, because this is outrageous what is happening in our country at this time. Okay, I better not say too much because
Okay, well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but
no.
I'm just curious. That's what we do as interviewers. We have these curiosities about us, and I'm just looking back. I'm not a spring chicken. I'm not as far along in the process as you are, but I can remember living through the Carter administration. I lived through the Reagan administration, which was nightmarish for a number of reasons, some of which affected me personally. I wasn't very happy about the Bushes getting in office. I'm aware of the Heritage Foundation and the fact that they existed during the Reagan years and during the Bush years and so forth. So what we're seeing now is basically an extension of the things that they put in place way back then. And then when I look at the other side of the fence, if we look at the Clinton administration and, we have all this praise for him, they called him unofficially a black president because he played the saxophone and he smoked marijuana. But when we look back at his administration, we also saw 3 strikes and what Joe Biden left us with. So we've seen issues on both sides of the fence. And I'm just wondering, is there any benefit to us being aligned with the other party when we've experienced difficulties with both?
That's a hard one. Actually, I think it's the person himself and not so much the party when it comes to issues. And I think it's what their core values. I think that has so much more to do than party. And that's where I think we find trouble. Not wanting to bend a bit and go over to the other side sometimes. I think that's the real problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about was just about integration, because you described a time in your life where you were exposed to segregation, and then there was a paradigm shift, and you mentioned that, you had children that were able to go to integrated schools. There are some who say that integration is one of the worst things that happened to us as a race in this country, because when integration occurred, then you saw the dissolution of a lot of black businesses, and you really saw the demise of the integrity of our community. And I can say that definitively happened here in Cleveland because I'm witness to it. But I'm just wondering, from your perspective, do you think that we're better off because of integration now?
Not the way it's going right at this moment. We're not. But I think to a certain degree, because we were able to get education, that is the thing that made things better for us. Higher education. Even when we were in our school, there was a time when the white kids had things that we didn't even know about. For example, trigonometry and higher levels of algebra. They were taught those things where we weren't. So there are some aspects of good in integration. I know that we lost also a lot of businesses, black businesses here in our city. I know that things are just not as they should be, period. But I think integration was good, and yet, well, it has good and bad sides, of course. That's just like anything else. The good was that so much more was opened up to us, and we were allowed to do so many more things. And I think because we were able to get the education, higher education, I think that helped a lot. Still, we are not paid enough, and not paid on the same basis as the white people are. And also, I think I have in one of these poems where one poem where it says we get more time than for lesser crime than others, and all that kind of thing. It's it's a lot. They don't. So many people don't want to see us get ahead. But then I think the newer generation is going to make a greater change in all of this, because you find young people now of all races gathering together, more togetherness. And I think in the long run, someday all of this is going to be so much better. It has a way of working its way out. Time will make a difference. You see young kids getting along. If the parents aren't around, the kids get along so much better. Some of the older parents are so set in their ways with having things their way and not being together. But if you leave kids alone, you'll see that they don't pay attention to what's black or white. And that makes a big difference.
Well, you mentioned education, and it's a statistical fact that black women are the most educated people in this country. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, again, just looking at what's happened in this administration, you had a whole lot of people who lost their jobs, and right. Many of them were black women. So, I agree with you in terms of the perilous times that we find ourselves in. But I think also it's just an impetus for us to realize that we have to do more for ourselves and not have to depend on others to do for us who don't really have an interest in our success. And I think the evidence of that is the reduction of funding for a lot of different programs that benefit us.
Yes. That was the aim, was to bring us down again. Yes, I have a granddaughter who lost her job, and right now she still hasn't gotten it back, but she's doing okay so far.
Yes. Well, I think it's going to be necessary for us to find other things to do, because along with the cutbacks that are coming as a result of what the government is doing, you also have artificial intelligence and robotics and other things. And many of the jobs that we go to college for won't be relevant anymore, because there will be other ways to get those jobs done that don't require people getting paid. So, we're going to have to do other things. You have been involved in the church for a long time. And for a long time, the church has been that thing that has enabled us to be able to survive this life that we're living in this country. Can you talk a little bit about why it was important for you to be connected with a faith that allowed for you to have a certain level of activism and responsibility for your community?
Yes. I just think that without God, we can't do much. And I just believe that faith helps us to get through hard times. Even in our families or whatever we go through, if we believe in God, we are able to make it through anything. We have to trust Him to help us through and know that He will make a way out of no way. It may be hard, and we may have hard times, but we can have peace of mind if we have a deep faith in Him, and no matter what we go through. So it's very important to hold on to Him forever and know that He will make changes. I always love the verse, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. And I do believe that, because no matter what we go through, in the long run, those things, we may have hard times, but it all works together for good. The bad things that are happening to us now in this country, it's going to turn around, and it's going to work out for good. We're going to be in a better way, and years to come, we're going to, because we are seeing what's going on, and we're going to learn a lot, and we're going to make changes. It's going to be a better world. That's my belief, because we believe in Him, and He will help us through it all.
I read in your bio that you had served in the church's diaconate ministry for 40 years, and I did some additional research about you online and saw that there was something that happened in 2018. So you can set the record straight. What I interpreted was you actually became a deacon. Is that true?
In 2018, yes, I was a deaconess first back in 1975. I was a deaconess, and then I actually became. Our pastor believed in women having equal rights, and he just believed that we should all, be the same. So we have no more deaconesses. We're all deacons now, and I was one of the first ones I was in the group of the first ones that became deacons.
And this is after 164 years.
Yes.
So how did that make you feel?
I was fine with it. It made me feel okay. I felt okay about it because this is a new world where we, like women preaching. I don't think it's anything wrong with women preaching, and so it's just a different world. But I said my grandmother and my great grandmother was a deaconess, and there were so many other people I knew who were deaconesses, and I think they would have turned over their grave to become my pastor said, well, everybody who's now whoever was a deaconess is now a deacon, but they would not have loved to have that term, I know, but it was okay with me. It was fine, and we got along fine with them.
What kind of response was there in the church?
Most of them accepted it okay. Most of them, yes, they did. They did accept it, because our pastor kept talking about that over and over. He had talked about it so much, and they kind of accepted it.
Mm-hmm. And this is the same pastor that was the mayor of Fredericksburg?
No,
Okay.
This is not. This is this is a new generation. I call him the new generation pastor, Pastor O'Bynes, and I called him that because he has a different way of doing things. yeah, each pastor has a different way, of course, and yeah, I was from the old school pastor.
Yeah, that begs another question in terms of, your involvement in the church over a period of years. And I know churches are not necessarily the same as they were 30 or 40 years ago. What changes have you seen you mentioned a change in leadership. Well, what changes have you seen as a result of that?
I've seen a lot of changes. Actually, the way they preach, they say things that the pastors back in years before would not have said, and then the music, which young people like a lot of music, and that's the old hymns. They don't sing as much anymore, and the music. Of course, the young people like the drums and the things and the loud music, and so they are some of the changes. But I go along with it. Some of the older. I don't know, not too many older than me, but some people my age and around my age, they aren't too happy about some of the changes. But I always tell him he is the new generation pastor, and I go along. I'm not one that don't go along with what the changes, because change will come no matter what, and we have to accept it. As each pastor comes in, each one brings something different.
Okay, so I was raised in a Baptist church. I can't ever remember walking into the sanctuary and seeing drums or any electric instruments.
I know.
So you're saying to me that you're having live music, drums, guitars, basses, and all of that, and it's in the Baptist church.
Right. Yes.
And so I'm sure the music is uplifting. It's hard to imagine someone sitting in their seat saying this ain't right as they're celebrating and enjoying the spirit of music connected to Christianity.
Right. Yes, but that's the new way, and it draws the younger people, and we need the younger people. It's just a lot of the things that they do. That's why it's done now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say that might be part of the necessity to do that, because the young people are going to be the older people in the church at some point in time, and they have to create an atmosphere that really speaks to them. And whereas some of the older members of the church didn't really align with that, you do have to make it intergenerational, because a lot of young people are not really drawn to the church. So is it a situation where your pastor is successfully reaching young folk?
I do think so, because the things that he says, and they can relate to so much. For example, he can say something about a song, some of the popular songs, some of the regular songs, and they all know the words. They know exactly what So he speaks their language. So that's what draws the younger people.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Just getting back to your book, and I'm very hopeful that people will reach out to you to get a copy of it, because it's quite enjoyable. And I've had the occasion to interview a number of authors, and it's always rewarding to me to read the book of someone that I know, because I always look for them in the book. And as I read through your book, I definitely see you in it. I hear and feel your voice. So, again, I just want to give folks another opportunity to check in. The name of the book is With Praises to His Name. It's by Iretha R. Bumbrey, and it is available to you if you make a call. You published this book yourself, and I think you gave us an inkling of why you made that decision. I see that it was edited by someone with my last name, Shirley S.J. Cordell Robinson. Talk to us about how you got your book done.
She was not the actual editor. She wrote the foreword.
She did the foreword,
book.
Right? Yes.
Foreword, yes.
Okay.
But but the editor himself was Mark Olson, and his wife actually helped him. He said, but. And he was a member of our church, and he was an editor for a magazine over the years, and I think it's not in service now, but he also has written other books, I think. So he was very kind to offer to put my book together with all the poems. I gave him the poems, and he just put it all together in such a nice fashion. I had them all on the computer in different files, like I say, and he took all of my files and just put this together, and I'm just so grateful to him for doing it in this fashion.
Well, I'll share this with you. I have a book of poetry. It was published in 2015. And I kind of went through the same process. There's a young lady who did someone else's book, and she had me do an event for her at a local library, and I played music behind her as she did poetry from her book. And then I decided to myself, I can do that. So I approached the publisher, and I asked her if she could do something for me, and she did the exact same thing. I had all these poems in different fonts and whatnot, and she made it all make sense. So, but unfortunately, the publisher is deceased. So maybe we can have a conversation, and I could speak to your guy, and he can hook me up the way he did you, because this book is beautiful. 335 pages, 336. The back page is blank. But that's really an amazing accomplishment. And it's a legacy, so,
Thank you.
Later folks will be able to come back to this book, folks who are your family, and they'll be able to open up the pages and see something that you wrote about them. And I'm sure that it will resonate with them beautifully as they continue. Do you have any plans to write any other books?
Yes, I'm kind of thinking. In fact, I wrote a children's book when my son, who is now, 56, when he first went to school, and I've never had that published. I needed it. What I need is to have it really illustrated. I wrote that book, and as I was I used to go to the schools as a breakfast buddy, and I read it to one little girl. She was a first grader, kindergartner, and she was so tickled over that book. I read that to her, and I've never had it done. It's a shame that I've never had it actually published. Also, I'm thinking of doing my autobiography and a little bit about my church history and so forth too. So I'm thinking a lot, but at this age, I know I have to hurry and do it because I don't know when I won't be able to. So I have some other. And as a matter of fact, I'm finding more poems that are not in this book. I'm finding poems on little pieces of paper and everything as I go through some of my papers that I have around here. So I'm finding more poems already. So I don't know if I'll have to do another book. It wouldn't be this many, of course, but yes, I'm finding more poems too.
You sound like me, Mrs. Bumbrey, because I got poems written on the backs of envelopes and napkins, and have to pull all those things together and then get them into my computer so they can be in digital form, and then I can do something else with them. Yes.
When I was the secretary at the church, I would put little 4-liners usually on the bottom of the bulletin in case if there was extra room on the bulletin. I didn't want to leave extra space, and I would write a poem then and there too. Used to put them on.
Yes, well, you got to get them down when they come to you, otherwise you lose them, and you can't remember what you were thinking, so you got to write it down.
That's right.
The book is called With Praises to His Name. It was written by Iretha R. Bumbrey. Thank you so much for joining me on Open Door.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins.
All right, and to those of you who have been listening, as always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your absolute best day. Peace.